Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Haley Lucas, and I am serving as the president of Student Alumni Board this year.
And I'm Keaton Petit. I'm currently the Vice President of External Programming for Student Alumni Board.
Awesome. So, on behalf of Student Alumni Board, I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight to our 7th annual Distinguished Young Alumni Keynote presentation. Before we begin today's presentation, there are a few people and organizations that I'd like to give a huge thank you to. First and foremost, we want to thank the Alumni Association and its board of directors for its continued support of Student Alumni Board programming. We would specifically like to recognize the Alumni Association's president and CEO, Amy Button-Renz. We would also like to thank President Richard Myers and Vice President for Student Life, Dr. Pat Bosco, for their ongoing support and promotion of the Distinguished Young Alumni Program. Finally, we would like to extend a warm welcome to the family of this year's recipients who are with us today.
So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Student Alumni Board, it's a group of about 40 student individuals here at K-State who serve as the university's kind of link between the Alumni Association and past, present, and future K-Staters. Over the past 8 months, members of SAB, myself, Haley, and the various ones around you have worked behind the scenes on Distinguished Young Alumni Program in an effort to connect current K-State students with some of the most passionate and accomplished K-State graduates under the age of 35. This year, we are excited to introduce you to our Distinguished Young Alumni Award recipients, the 2019 honorees, Mr. James Kale Monk and Dr. Charlie Cole.
So for the first keynote presentation tonight, we'd like to welcome James Kale Monk. Following Kale's keynote, we will open the floor for a Q&A. At the conclusion of the Q&A, there will be a reception with refreshments in the lobby. Please feel free to mingle and enjoy the treats. At 4:30, we will welcome everyone back into Town Hall for Charlie's presentation.
All right, and lastly, our first honoree, native of Bennington, Kansas. He is currently an assistant professor, state extension specialist, and Center for Policy and Family Research fellow at the University of Missouri. While at K-State, he was a member of Mortarboard Honor Society, Hands-On K-State, K-State Crew, and the Saley School of Leadership Studies. He graduated from K-State in 2010 with dual bachelor's degrees in psychology and family studies and human services, and in 2013 with a master's degree in family studies and human services. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming James Kale Monk.
All right, so thank you for that lovely introduction. So can everybody hear me? Okay, great. Actually, this is pretty close. It sounds pretty loud to me, so I'm going to move this down just a little bit. So I want to also start by thanking a lot of people who made this DYA experience great. So first of all, I want to thank the K-State Alumni Association, in particular Amy Button-Renz and Marcus Kidd for being the point people to set all this up. But I also want to thank Keaton and the other Student Alumni Board members for literally driving me from meeting to meeting, place to place. I really appreciate that. I know it takes a lot of time to escort divas like myself around campus, so I really appreciate that. And I also appreciate that introduction. So given that my research is primarily focused on relationships, I figured that I'm going to focus the majority of my talk on relationships. But Marcus gave me some tasks when he told me that he wanted me to speak. So I'm going to start out by talking about how did K-State really set me up. So a little bit about my background, a little bit about my current role, and then he wanted me to bestow some wisdom to some of the students in the room, even though I don't have much wisdom to bestow. But we're going to give it a shot. So I want to take you back to the very beginning for a moment. So they mentioned that I'm from Bennington, Kansas, and this is a small town just north of Salina. And I'm actually going to skip forward a bunch of years because I only have 30 minutes and there's a lot of awkwardness in my childhood, such as you can see in these pictures. I spent a lot of time trying to keep the mullet alive for the vast majority of my childhood. And so we'll just start with the transition to college, right? So I'm a first generation college student, first generation university graduate. And so I was really nervous about getting left behind at the university. I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And so I spent a lot of time my first semester at K-State in my residence hall, in my dorm room. But I knew I needed to get involved and I didn't want to get left behind. And so I wanted to connect with people on campus. So one of the very first organizations I joined was Crew, which is a campus ministry on campus. And I had a lot of really great memories with this group of friends. But one of the most impactful was going to Hurricane Katrina relief effort on the Mississippi coast. So when I'm going to date myself, so when I was a freshman is when Katrina hit. And so we took a group down to the Mississippi coast. And I know from this experience and my more recent experience teaching a human services internship class in South Africa that sometimes we can be deluded into thinking we're going to save the world, right, with some volunteerism. But in reality, a lot of times we get much more out of these trips than the communities we go there to aid. And this was certainly true for me. I was learning a lot about trauma and distress that families experience after a crisis, which was really impactful for me. And I was getting much more out of that experience than the community who I was there to aid, because I was doing some carpentry work and I don't know anything about carpentry. And so that can be an issue, right? And so I knew I wanted to learn, how do I actually be helpful? And I knew K-State could train me, and I knew I wanted a career in human services. And so that's when I started to gravitate towards leadership studies. I was taking a class on leadership across cultures with Dr. Mary Kay Seifers, and I was learning things like servant leadership, privilege, savior complex. And so it was really influential in my perspective, and I really gravitated towards towards leadership studies. And through Mary Kay Seifers, I got connected with Linda Batchelor, who was wanting to start a volunteer center here at K-State. She was wanting to kind of foster a better campus and community connection by providing students opportunities to meet needs in the community. And so those of you in the audience now probably know it by its new name, Hands-On K-State, and so it made that transition to Hands-On K-State. And we were actually in the old foundation building in civic leadership, so I was actually right outside the door of Dr. Mary Toller, who is now the director of School of Leadership Studies, as well as Candy Hironaka. And these servant leaders also gave me really great mentorship. And through all these individuals, they got me connected with Mike Finnegan and Todd Wells. And you can't really see it in this picture, but Todd is wearing his UMKC shirt, so he's actually come to the dark side. He's part of the University of Missouri system now, across state lines. But I was a class leader with these two great teachers, and so I learned a lot through leadership studies. And so I got involved in a lot of really great opportunities as an undergrad. I got the experience to partner with community organizations, to teach about leadership theories, and to really mobilize students on campus. But something I'm most proud of is I also got experience being a model, as you can see in this advertisement for the United Way, for advertising for a service event that we were putting on. And then that's when Candy and Mary Toller started to put a bug in my ear about this senior honor society called Mortarboard. And I was really reluctant at first because I was really involved, really busy with my schoolwork and my work. They were keeping me really busy. But Candy really convinced me when she talked about how this was an organization that was cultivating leadership, scholarship, and service, 3 pillars that I was really passionate about. And so I decided to join this organization, and what really sold me on it was when Candy talked to me about who some of the former members of Mortarboard were, people like President Ford, former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, Drew Brees. And so I really wanted to be a part of this organization and was lucky to be selected to be into this group. And it was really great because it was my opportunity to network with top scholars, students across campus, people who I wouldn't normally get the opportunity to meet. So it was a really great opportunity to get connected. So from all these experiences, I knew that I wanted to serve, but how do I turn service into a job? What field did I specifically want to do service in? And I knew as a psych major that I should get involved in research. I was consistently hearing that in my classes. And so I was scouring K-State websites, and that's when I found Dr. Brianna Nelson-Goff's research on military couples in family studies and human services. And she immediately got me involved in developing conflict resolution training for military couples alongside Terry McCants, another faculty member in family studies. And both Terry and Brianna were really encouraging me to learn and to grow and to travel. And so this started with Terry convincing me to take her faculty-led trip studying peace and conflict abroad in Northern Ireland, so at the University of Ulster. Another very candid shot of me modeling. That's going to be kind of a theme of my talk. And so this was a really great place to study conflict and trauma because of the recent political unrest in that country. That just 2 years before we got there, there was an IRA ceasefire. And so it was a really great place to learn about how does conflict change really communities, right? But also Brianna was encouraging me to travel as well, and she nominated me and my future wife, Allie, to do a leadership retreat in Washington, D.C. to get really good training through another K-State alum. And so we went to this program, and I put ship in quotes because youths today, my students tell me that that's the new slang for like when you want two people to end up in a relationship. Amber's shaking her head yes. So you would ship them, like relationship. So I thought that was pretty clever. And so Brianna not only gave me opportunities and nominated me for this award, but she also got me a spouse. So full service. Thank you, Brianna. As if that wasn't enough, then Brianna and Terry mentored me in an honors project. And so I was developing the first proposal for the conflict analysis and trauma studies minor as my honors project. And after completing that, Brianna and Terry worked their magic, and it's now the 4th largest minor at K-State, leadership studies being the first. And through all these opportunities, I got connected with a lot of other great faculty members, and just a few are mentioned up here. Dr. Don Saucier in psychological science. I took his research methods class, and he was one of the first people to teach me what research was, and it was more than just Googling. I'm not sure if we had Google back then, Alta Vista-ing, whatever was popular back then, that there's actually a science behind it. And then I got connected with former Dean Carol Kellett, and she gave me the opportunity to solo teach my first large undergraduate class, which was really great experience, and she gave me great mentorship along the way. And then, of course, all these experiences set me up to get into grad school to work with Dr. Amber Venom and Dr. Jared Anderson, who gave me additional opportunities to research dating and marriage and really showed me that you could enjoy what you do and it can be really relevant to people's lives. And so, the next thing Marcus wanted me to talk about was how did all these things prepare me for what I do today? So how did all these experiences prepare me to get my Ph.D., which you can see that photo of me looking coy at the University of Illinois. And then this photograph is me with 2 of our wonderful Mizzou graduate students for a K-State alumni press release. But what you don't see is the 20 outtakes that we had to do to get this wonderfully staged photograph. And so I'm all about transparency, and so I'll do anything for K-State. So I put up with it. So how did K-State prepare me? One of the most impactful ways that you can kind of see already is that it's the place where I got mentors for life. And my primary role as a researcher is all about building off of and advancing the work of others. So K-State really taught me that relationships are really important. We don't get anywhere alone, right? And so it's all about who you know. And so each of these mentors gave me opportunities and experiences that led to the next. So I met Dr. Mary Kay Siepers, who introduced me to Linda Batchelor, who got me enough experience to teach with Mike and Todd, who then gave me experiences so that I could get into grad school to work with Amber and Jared and many other great scholars. But it didn't just teach me that relationships are important in the colloquial sense, right, or the informal sense of the word. It taught me that no, relationships are literally important. We wouldn't survive without cooperative relationships. And so research actually shows that, especially in elderly populations, or older adults, I should say, that those who are more socially isolated are twice as likely to die prematurely. And as you can see from this popular meta-analysis, a composition of a bunch of different studies, that social relationships actually exert a stronger effect than a lot of other well-accepted public health determinants, such as smoking, obesity, physical activity, and environmental pollution. And we aren't the first society to recognize this. So there's a lot of ancient societies, and even in the Bible, like the book of Ecclesiastes talks about how two are better than one because you can share labor, you can keep each other warm. If one person falls down, there's the other person to pick them up. And ancient societies like Greek and Romans practice exile as a way of circumventing the death penalty. And to me, that's because they saw being cut off from your relationships as a fate worse than death. And so this makes sense, right? We know that when we're looking back and reflecting on things in our past, the most important parts of our lives, we're thinking about our relationships, right? We're thinking about our families. We're thinking about our friends as being really, really important and impactful. And you didn't think you were going to bring a professor to campus and not hear about a few specific studies, right? And so just a few of my favorite studies that I learned right here at K-State that really got me excited to be a relationship scientist. The first one is they brought individuals in relationships into a lab, and they gave them a slight pain stimulus, like a shock or a prick, and that happened whenever an X would flash on the screen. So there was also some brain imaging to see about fear activation in the brain. And they found, after getting those baseline measures, that when they held hands with a romantic partner or a close significant other, that fear activation was reduced, but also their experience of the pain went from labeling it as painful to being uncomfortable, which is really a robust effect. But obviously the quality of the relationship matters. So in another one of my favorite studies, researchers from The Ohio State University brought couples into a lab and actually gave them a small lesion. They cut or scratched them. With pain and cutting, you're going to think that research is all about inflicting pain. That's not what it is, but these studies just happen to be that. And so they cut these couples and monitored them over time, and they found that those couples in more distressed relationships healed 60% more slowly than those in non-distressed relationships. Isn't that fascinating? And they found that, that they had increased cortisol reactivity and inflammation, which led to a weakened immune response. And so how did all these relational experiences and learning about relationships influence me to be a relationship scientist? I think that's pretty obvious at this point, right? But first of all, relationship science and family science were fields that I didn't even know existed until I came to K-State. As a high school student, I wasn't thinking, oh, I want to be a relationship scientist, right? And so I really learned about these things at K-State, which is really impactful. And so the last thing that I want to chat about is giving some wonderful advice, right? So Marcus wanted me to bestow some wisdom to you all, and so I'm just going to chat about a few brief things that I think really helped me at Kansas State University. And so the first thing is getting involved and finding your calling. So I've talked a lot about forming relationships and how impactful they are. Getting involved is a really important way to do this. And getting involved not only helps you build your resume, it's not only a resume booster, right? But it can also help you find your calling because you learn what you're interested in, right? I started out as a completely different major until I discovered that you could research relationships and actually make a living from it. And so it's a really great opportunity to do that. And you all didn't think this was going to be PG-13, did you? So this is a photograph that my wife took on vacation. And I think her caption was, when an academic goes on vacation. And you can see that even on vacation, I'm reading because I really love my job. If you find something that you love, it doesn't feel like work. And as somebody who reads about intersectionality and privilege, I don't take this privilege for granted or lightly. And then, of course, again, building your networks is really, really critical. So you've probably heard that it's all about who you know. And so it's when relationships aren't just impactful in the personal sense, that I've talked about my mentors, and so they're also really critical for us professionally, right? When we learn from each other, we learn new things, we support each other, and we do things that really benefit and increase the scope of our work. And so as talking about all these things, I would be remiss without talking about my master's cohort in couple and family therapy here at K-State, who really were helpful in helping me survive this really rigorous program. And there's still a continuous support today. And who wouldn't want a group of therapists that you can just call up at any time, right? It's pretty amazing. One of who, Dr. Marcy Lechtenberg, is in the audience today because her son-in-law is actually the next speaker, so small world. And I made a joke earlier that I think it's rigged and Marcy probably actually selected us, but then I thought that was insulting to Charlie, so I wasn't gonna make the joke, but oops, I just did. And so one thing that I think it's also important for students to recognize is, have you ever had that experience where you feel like you are faking your way through something and it's only a matter of time before people figure out that you're a fraud or that you're inferior? Well, this feeling that you're a fraud and that you don't deserve success has been labeled the imposter syndrome. And I'll let you in on a little secret. Most people feel this way at some point, especially in higher education and academia, where our lives are really based on external praise, right? So either grades if you're a student, and for me as a faculty member, good reviews for my publications. And so this is something that's really challenging. And so you can see here that a lot of people have this thought that everyone else knows exactly what they're doing and I'm the only idiot, right? Which I edited for language because my grandma's in the audience. So again, this is really common, and we want to make sure that we don't let this hold us back from trying, right? But something that's really tricky is that with trying comes failure, right? And normally we give the message that failure is okay, and for the most part, for most people, failure is okay, right? However, there are certainly populations who literally can't afford to fail. And so I was thinking about this article recently that I read in the Chronicle Vita, which is a popular publication that a lot of faculty read. And they were talking about how this university brought in an entrepreneur, a millionaire, who came in and he talked about how when he graduated, his dad gave him $50,000. He put it into a startup. That startup eventually failed, but he created other businesses, and eventually one of them was successful, and he became a millionaire. And that worked for him, and that's great. But I don't know about you all, but I didn't have $50,000 to just throw away when I graduated from K-State. So it certainly depends on the failure, and that's where asking for help and having mentors who can really scaffold and help support you to make failure less likely is really, really critical. And so just as a salient example, I'm being a hypocrite right now. I am saying, do as I say, not as I do, because I have the imposter syndrome, and I feel like I don't deserve this award. To encapsulate this just showed up in my Facebook memories the other day. And so a few of my friends received this award years ago, and I was really, really proud of them. And I was talking about that. So this is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but also a little bit serious, that they worked with presidents, they worked at the UN, they've created their own companies, and I don't feel like I measure up to that, right? But it's important that we don't let these insecurities hold us back from really incredible opportunities. Like, did I think that I would be a model for the United Way? No, but I was. And the last thing that I want to talk about, so I've talked a lot about relationships, and certainly I want to encourage students to reach out to alums in your field, get connected with faculty members during office hours, talk to faculty and staff about internship opportunities to really get involved. And as K-Staters, we're really proud of our university. We're really proud of this family environment. And so just as a few examples, when I went to the University of Illinois, it's a very prestigious institution. It would attract people from the Ivy Leagues. And so I was in classes with people from these Ivy League universities. And so you would think they would be the ones who would be pretentious, saying, I went to Harvard. But it was me always saying, I went to Kansas State University. At Kansas State University, we did it this way. And so it got to the point where one of my friends sarcastically said, oh, you went to K-State? We didn't know. Because I only talk about it all the time. And whenever we would go on campus and I would see people with like K-State sweaters, or if we would be in either Illinois campus or in Chicago, and I would see a PowerCat decal, I would talk about our alumni support groups, or not our support groups, our watch parties. And I like yelled "Go State" to people with a PowerCat hat, and my friends who graduated from other institutions were so embarrassed. And they were like, why are you reaching out to these strangers just because they have your alma mater's name on it? And I was like, they're not strangers, we're family, right? And so I think you would be hard pressed to find an alum who's proud, who wouldn't be willing to help in some capacity. But we have to keep fostering that relationship. As a relationship scientist, I know that relationships aren't without reciprocity. They can't be one-sided. If one person's just under-benefiting, these relationships aren't going to be as healthy, with the exception of like parent-child relationships, because I know with young children, my sister brought her nephews, there may not be a lot of benefit you're getting from kids, but we do it for other reasons, right? But for the most part, most relationships, there needs to be some reciprocity, right? And so it's important that when you get in a place to be able to give back, that you pay those benefits forward. And they didn't bring me in just for telefund to ask for your money. I'm not just talking about money, right? There are other resources such as time, advice. If someone reaches out to you about your field, getting them those connections is really, really critical, because if we're just giving connections to people in our network, people outside our network aren't going to get those same benefits. And so people in these high-level positions are all going to start to look and think the same. And so it's really important that we expand our ties to other groups as well. And so just really briefly, don't procrastinate. Cultivating relationships takes time. So in this photograph, this was my very last paper as an undergraduate student at Kansas State. I had a paper due at midnight. I started on at 11 because it was my last paper. I'm like, I'll whip it up. I'm a pro at writing papers by that point. But in the middle of writing it, there was a K-State flash mob in Hale Library. And you can see them literally climbing on the computers because everybody else was done, but I was the one that was procrastinating. So don't procrastinate. Start doing this today. And so I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Like, I really appreciate this. I think I made it clear that I'm really proud of Kansas State University. This is where my wife and I started our relationship. I mentioned mortarboard earlier. I actually created a formal, like an actual dance, just to have an excuse to invite her to something. Jan's shaking her head. She remembers that. And so that's my nephew. I'm boring him. So I'm almost done, Kai. So it really means a lot to my wife and I want to thank my wife because she's actually the one who should be receiving this award. She has been supportive to me, and she actually moved and started her career over 3 times. So she was an admission rep in Dallas. She moved back to campus when we got married, and then she moved to the University of Illinois, where she was a coordinator of recruitment, and quickly worked her way up to a director of admissions, which she was probably the youngest director on campus because it's such a high-level administrative position. And then she started over once again when we moved to the University of Missouri, where she was a coordinator, and then within a year worked her way up to director, right? So very impressive. I mentioned that I was a first-generation student, so this K-State's really important to our family because it's one of the first universities that we've had graduates that we've graduated from, I should say. And so it's really important to here you can see a photo of my sister in the back. Thanks for coming, Casey, and bringing the munchkins, the littles. So I really appreciate this award. And even my dog was devastated when we took her from Wildcat Country and moved her to Illinois. So again, thank you all very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kale. Does anyone have any questions for Kale at this time? The microphone I can pass around.
Hey there, I'm part of the hands-on program here, and I was curious, what was it like when you were in it? Because I'm sure it's changed drastically since your time.
Yeah, like even the name. Are you talking about hands-on specifically?
Yeah, the volunteer center. Can you tell us how it got started and kind of the challenges you had to face?
Yeah, certainly. So is Linda, I know she was here, but she might have had to slip out. So Linda would say this as well, that we didn't know what we were doing, really. Obviously, Linda knew much more. I definitely didn't know what I was doing. And so it was a lot of reaching out, a lot of work with the chamber. We reached out to different organizations on campus and kind of merged. So we had the Good Neighbors program, which was kind of established. And so it was really us just kind of testing things out. And so we applied for various grants. It was some of my first grant writing opportunities. And so we got grants from the Points of Light Foundation. There's the national organization Hands On. And then I applied and we received some funding from AmeriCorps. And so there was some different mechanism there, but SGA was also Student Governing Association, was a really big supporter of us, and they funded us for at least the first 2 or 3 years. And so we got a lot of money from SGA because the students really saw value in it. So it was really just selling that it's more than just a resume builder, that we wanted to improve the camaraderie between campus and community and show them that we weren't just college students with beer cans in our yard that are partying too late, right? Like, we wanted to show that we're here, we want to be helpful, we're part of this community too.
Does anyone else have questions?
My sister, great.
Has there been any studies that show that people that have a mullet before the age of 10 are very successful? Just curious.
I'm not aware of any, but anecdotally, yes.
Okay, well, if no one else has questions, please go ahead and help yourselves to refreshments in the lobby. We will ask that you guys return to your seats by about 4:20 for Charlie's presentation. Thanks, Kale.